Hi, it's Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new teen book spotlight. So this week we are wrapping up our alphabet titles series. That is right, we are finally reaching the end of the alphabet. And I hope you've had just as much fun as I have had throughout our little series here, because we've explored some amazing titles and this week is no exception. In fact, this week is even more extra awesome because we have some bonus books in here. That's right, instead of 6 books this week, we have 8 books. We are covering the letters S through Z, and then we have some tricky letters in there that we had to get a little creative with. You'll understand here when we go to dig into these amazing titles. I cannot wait. Let's get started. So our first one kicking off our S is Simon in the Homo sapiens agenda. So high school junior Simon he's kind of in a pickle. He has been in this growing email relationship with this person who goes by Blue, and it's getting a little more and more intense and romantic. And it's when Simon gets up, walks away from the school computer just momentarily, that another student, Martin, happens to walk by, and he happens to be nosy and then takes a screenshot of this correspondence between Simon and Blue. He kind of gets an idea of what is going on. So then Martin approaches Simon with a blackmail proposition, for lack of a better term. If Simon will help Martin get the attention of new girl Abby, who has been brought into Simon's group, then he will not out Simon and his secret to the entire school. Simon agrees to this because he's not sure where he is in order to do all of this. But as he starts going through this process, this journey, this experience, Simon starts to wonder, is it really a bad thing if people know that he's gay? And he starts to then discover more about himself than he ever could have imagined. This humorous, realistic story is one that is completely relatable. It's heartwarming. It's the first in a series. If you've ever read anything by Becky Albertalli, you know you're in for a treat. The Hulu series Love, Simon is based off of this. This is Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda. They Called Us Enemies. So this graphic novel memoir is all about George Takei's experience growing up in the United States during World War II. Being Japanese American, his family was then forced to leave their home, and they have to report to this internment camp due to being a, quote, alien enemy. Takei brings firsthand experience and perspective to what it was like to not only live in an internment camp, but how it felt, how it still feels for a country to turn its back on its citizens. This graphic novel brings a personal perspective to an extremely difficult chapter in our history of our nation. It will open your eyes, your heart, your minds. It will bring you to this realization that this actually did happen in our country. This is a real thing. Incredibly eye-opening. They Called Us Enemy. Unwind. Love this series. Okay, this is book 1 in this series. So this is set not too far in the future. Now, America has gone through a second civil war over abortion. After the war was over, abortion is not illegal. But teens between the ages of 13 and 18 can now be unwound. That's what this process is called. It's when their parents decide that they don't want their teens basically anymore, and they can have all of their body parts harvested for medical use. Connor, who is 16, he discovers that his parents have signed the orders to have him unwound. And he decides he's going to run away. This is not what he wants. He's going to be killed. So he takes off. Along the way, he has 2 other teens who are bound to be unwound. Okay, their parents have signed the orders too. They join him on this heart-pounding race in order to avoid being caught, because their survival literally is at risk. Filled with cliffhangers, there's bombshells, there's so many emotions. You will find yourself caught up in all of the action, and you will be asking yourself so many ethical questions about what would you do if you were in this situation, and could you even imagine this actually happening? And what's crazy is when you think about society and technology where it is today, it's almost not set in science fiction necessarily anymore. Now, this is the first in a completed series. an amazing, eye-opening, thought-provoking story. And one thing I love about Neil Shusterman, and this is no exception in here, is he writes YA in such a way that he doesn't assume that someone reading YA is not thinking about these types of things. Like, it's extremely thought-provoking. Unwind. Vincent and Theo. So a YALSA Nonfiction Award winner, an incredible biography. We have all heard, hopefully, about Vincent van Gogh, Starry Night, the guy who cut his ear off, we all hopefully have heard of Vincent van Gogh. But how many of us have honestly heard about his brother, Theo? Now, Theo van Gogh played such an integral role in Vincent's development as an artist that this book is based on over 700 letters they wrote each other throughout their lifetime. From their childhoods through their successes and turmoils, they each supported one another while competing and occasionally having their own volatile relationship with one another. Typical brother, sibling relationships, not all roses and sunshine at times, okay? This amazing nonfiction book is filled with sketches, there's drawings, there's paintings, and as you discover more about how these brothers made each other how they became who they were, you will come to appreciate what they've left behind even more. This is Vincent and Theo. Wings of Ebony. So, life has not been easy for Rue. Okay, she's 17 years old. Just in the last year, she has seen her mother murdered right in front of her eyes. And now, right when our story goes to begin, she's been taken from her home, which is in Houston, Texas. And now she is away from her beloved half-sister. And she's on this secret island, which is located hundreds of miles off the coast of Madagascar, which is an island off of Africa. So here's an even smaller island. And she's taken to this island called Gizon alongside her estranged father. So she has a lot going on. It is on this island, though, that her life becomes even more complicated and intense, because not only is this island filled with magic, she also finds out that she is half human, half god. She is a demigod. That is correct, okay? And then it's this whole new culture she has to learn. As she begins her training, she's doing the best she can, but she doesn't know the first thing about any of this. And here's the other thing. She and her dad are the only black individuals on this island. The rest are all gray. Like, there are so many confusing things. She doesn't even know what to make out of any of this. She's having a really hard time accepting what's going on. She's having a really hard time being accepted by everyone who is there. She makes one friend, and this one friend decides she's going to help Rue out. Because she decides she's going to break one of the most important rules. A rule that you cannot break, but she's going to. And that's, she wants to leave the island. She wants to leave the island. She wants to go back to Houston to find her sister. And when she does that, not what she finds is going to rock her world. She finds that she's in a battle not only for herself, but also that her sister's life, as various worlds collide with each other, and they have their own agendas that they're willing to fight for. But you know what every single one of them wants? Rue's half-sister. Now, this is the first in an adventure failed duology. The second book is out already, so it is a completed one. There's a non-stop action. There's a kick-butt girl main character. I loved this one. I'm not a huge fantasy reader, I will tell you that. Loved this one. Wings of Ebony. The Poet X. And I feel like this has kind of become like a modern day YA classic. If you haven't read it or listened to it, the audio of this is amazing. Elizabeth Acevedo, who is the author, she's a slam poet. She reads this book just like how she intends it to be read. It's an amazing audio. Yeah. So Zia Mara is 15 years old, Dominican American. She's living in Harlem with her family and twin brother Xavier. Her father's pretty much absent from her family, though. Even though he's there physically, he's not there. And her mother is extremely religious, and she demands that her children be religious as well. She also has very high expectations of Zia Mara, and Zia Mara feels like she cannot talk to anyone, including her twin, who is completely different from her without the expectations as well. But Zia Amaro finds that she's able to express herself through her poetry in her leather-bound journal that she keeps by her side at all times. It is at school, and her English teacher encourages her to join the Slam Poetry Club. But unfortunately, it meets at the same time as classes at church occur. She's expected to attend those classes, not the Slam Poetry Club. But as Amara tries to live her own life, she starts having secrets, especially since she's having secrets, she finds out Xavier has secrets, and when everything starts to come out, it's going to test the bounds of everything and everyone in this family. This amazing novel and verse will keep you in suspense, okay? Because it is realistic. You know, it's just like, you know, think about, we have suspense in our own lives. Ziamara has that in her life too. You're right there experiencing it. And you will be able to relate to her in so many ways, especially as she tries to find herself and her place in this world. Again, amazing story. Audio is amazing as well. The Poet X. The young elites. So for the past 10 years, okay, in our kingdom here, there has been a blood fever that has toured throughout the land. When most people get the blood fever, they do pass away, but there are some few that survive. Unfortunately, though, when these survivors come out of their illness, they are changed for the rest of their lives physically with these strange and unique markings that are on their bodies, okay? A lot of times they're deformed in some way that they weren't previously, including our main character here, Adelina, that she is now missing an eye. But not only do they come out, unfortunately, with these strange markings, some of them come out with even special abilities. That group then becomes known as the young elites, okay? And they are then hunted, especially by this group called the Inquisition. Now, the Inquisition, their goal is to get rid of all the individuals they call malfetos. That includes basically everyone who survives the blood fever. And when I mean get rid of, they want to eliminate, okay? Adelina is on the run from them. She doesn't want to get caught by them. That is when she stumbles into that group, the young elites. And it is when she is with them that she soon realizes that not only is she a malfeto, she's a malfeto with some supernatural abilities of illusion and disillusion. And if she's going to survive, if she's going to escape with her life, she's going to need to know how to use and control her newfound abilities before it gets the better of her. The first in a completed trilogy. If you've read anything by Marie Lu, for anything from the Legion series all the way to Warcross, you know you're in for a treat. No exception, non-stop read, The Young Elites. And our last one, our last letter in the alphabet, the letter Z, we have Zeros. Okay, so the Zeros is a group of teenagers who have special superhero abilities. But when our series starts, they are all scattered, okay? They're all away from each other because there's been too much infighting. It is when one of the members, Ethan, who goes by Scam because he has the ability to tell people exactly what he needs them to hear, he finds himself in trouble and detained. The only way he's going to get out of this is for the other Zeros to come back together and work together to save him. But not everyone is eager to get back together and to then use their powers. Told in different points of view, you will get to learn about each of the characters, their inner workings, their superhero abilities, and it will add immensely to the storyline. You will be wanting to read the next one. Books 2 and 3 are already out, okay? But if you love a good superhero story that's not your typical, you know, what we know from our movies, Marvel, DC, what one that is incredibly unique, Zeros. So that's it. We have made it through the alphabet of titles. How amazing is that? Hopefully you have been inspired, do your own challenge. Maybe you've heard of one that you didn't know before and now you've picked it up to read. That is what we are here for, okay? So I encourage you coming out, check out one of these, or maybe start your own challenge, okay? So yeah, totally impressive, especially since summer reading's gonna be coming. That's right, maybe pick up one of these for your summer reading kickoff. So next time we have a new Teen Book Spotlight, completely new theme, we'll get started. We'll see what happens. I hope you have an amazing week, and I hope you tune back next time. Will be a whole new teen book spotlight.